So today we're diving into something a little different. We're looking at a single product page for what looks like a cable,
Right.
but it's a cable that costs $1,370.
Yeah, that tends to get your attention.
It really does. So our mission today is to figure out how and why you would spend that kind of money just to plug in a screen. This is the NTI Fiber Extender.
And you're right to call it an extender, not just a cable. Calling this a cable is, well, it's a bit like calling a Ferrari a go-kart.
Okay, fair enough.
This is an industrial solution to a really tough physics problem. How do you move an 8K video signal across, say, 2 football fields without losing a single pixel?
But I mean, seriously, $1,300. That sounds like highway robbery, unless this thing is performing some kind of magic.
It pretty much is magic, at least compared to the copper wire you're used to. You're paying for what I'd call the fire hose effect.
The fire hose effect.
Think of your normal DisplayPort cable as a garden hose. Now, 8K video? That's a fire hydrant's worth of data trying to get through.
The garden hose is going to burst.
Exactly. Or, in this case, the signal just dies after a few feet. This fiber system, this is the fire hose.
So it just opens up the floodgates.
It creates this massive 32.4 gigabit per second pipeline. That's enough bandwidth to push Ultra HD 8K resolution at 30 hertz, or if you drop to 4K, you get a super smooth 120 hertz.
So to get that kind of speed, I have to assume it's not just a single wire inside that casing.
No, not at all. And this is where that price tag starts to make a little more sense. It uses something called an MPO connector.
Okay.
Think of the cable less like a wire and more like a tiny flat ribbon. And inside that ribbon are 12 separate lanes of glass fiber, all shooting light signals at the same time.
12 lanes of glass. That explains the speed and the distance, which is up to, what, 200 meters?
656 feet, yeah.
But I also saw low RFEMI mentioned on this spec sheet. I usually kind of ignore that for home stuff, but I'm guessing for this price it actually matters.
It matters immensely if you're not in a living room. If you're running this cable through a factory floor with heavy machinery or a hospital with MRI machines, those copper cables act like giant antennas.
They just pick up all that electronic noise.
All of it. And it completely ruins the picture. But since fiber is glass,
It's immune.
totally immune. It conducts light, not electricity. So for what the source calls sensitive applications, you can run this right next to a generator and the video will be perfect.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I did notice one little catch in the specs, though. It's not completely passive. The receiver end actually needs to be plugged into a wall.
It does. This is an active extender system. You have a transmitter unit at the source, your computer, and a receiver unit at the display. The receiver draws a little power, about 0.6 watts.
So you can't just snake it through a wall and forget it.
Nope, you have to plan for power on the other end.
And what about the software? Usually industrial gear like this is a nightmare to configure.
Yeah.
Do you need custom drivers or an IT team?
Surprisingly, no. The source really emphasizes that it's plug and play. It handles all the EDAID pass-through automatically.
That's the protocol where the monitor basically introduces itself to the computer, right?
Exactly. So they can agree on the right resolution without you having to do a thing.
I also saw a badge that said TAA compliant. That usually means it's for government contracts, doesn't it?
It does. That means it meets the Trade Agreements Act. And it tells us who the customer is. NTI isn't just selling to, rich gamers. They're selling to the military, to federal agencies, command centers.
Devices that need things like multi-stream transport to daisy chain monitors.
And 36-bit deep color for super precise imaging. This is serious hardware for serious applications.
So to sum it up, we have a $13,370 solution that is essentially a teleportation device for pixels designed to work in hostile electronic environments.
That is a great way to put it. It's industrial-grade plumbing for data.
It really changes how I look at those giant video walls you see in airports or stadiums.
It should. I mean, we always obsess over the screens themselves, the pixels, the brightness.
Yeah.
But as our demand for higher and higher resolutions like 8K just keeps growing, the invisible infrastructure needed to move all that data, those pipes like this fiber system, they're becoming just as critical and, frankly, just as expensive as the screens themselves.